is emerging on the face of the earth, a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multi-dimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create the new consciousness renaissance together with other blossoming infinite human beings who are shifting the old paradigms of our broken, fragmented, finite 3D Earth and alchemizing it into a more expansive, unified, loving, infinite reality by reclaiming their true divine, infinite power within as the co-creators of the new infinite Earth. Join us weekly for the Infinite Human Talk Show, hosted by Elizabeth Monroy, every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
Hello, my divine infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Elizabeth Monroy. I'm your host of the Infinite Human Talk Show. And today I have a very important and powerful message for you. So if you are attuning to my voice, to this channel, then this message is for you. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning, because once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So it is an activation of your memory. It is at some level, a call to action. It is a message from the guardians, from the higher God source worlds, from your star family. And it is meant to awaken you. Now, it might not impact you immediately, but once you hear it, the seed is planted and it will take root. And so many of you are ready for it, because we have gone through such an energetic shift. I've been talking about it on, all my talk shows. I'm just focusing right now on what's going on and downloading a lot of information from my star family, or I will just say from the guardians. So I'm getting information and I'm just saying it when I feel like the message, the frequency is strong enough for it to be heard. So, sometimes I don't do my show regularly because I'm just showing up when I'm told to. But I'll get this message out to you as soon as possible. So if you're here now, this message is meant for you no matter what time frame it is. So a lot of you have been experiencing this shift. Now, it's a timing thing. It could be now when I'm broadcasting this, or it could be months, years from now. But your time is divine time. So it's just totally you. There's no rush, because really time is an illusion. So the perfect timing is happening for you. But if you're hearing this, probably you have already shifted into the higher frequencies and your feet are being positioned on the pathway of what I call the organic timelines, the true future that you are destined and you've always been destined to follow on the Krystal spiral of life, which is in alignment with infinite God source. So we're pulling away from the death spiral, the Metatronic Fibonacci spiral, the 3D, road that leads nowhere, and we're positioning on it. But it's a very, very, first of all, it's a very personal journey. Yet we all are feeling, I think, similar things, but of course our stories are all different. So it's different people, places, and things, but the energy is the same. So there's a lot of emotions that come up. There's emotions clearing out, from the old you, as you leave behind the old stories, as you stop identifying with yourself as a victim, as you stop identifying with your 3D self in the 3D world, and as you break free from these mind control programs. And the more you can break free, the more objective you can become, and you can look at yourself and see how you bought into this. And so there's a part of you going, oh my God, how could I have ever bought into that? And maybe you might even get on your case for being so stupid. But it's not that you were others do, but it's just that you were, enmeshed in this heavy, heavy veil, lowering your frequencies, lulling you to sleep in a coma. And you were not driving, your life. You were not holding the pen that was writing your life story. And now you are. You're just beginning to. But there's a lot of emotions that go with it. There's also a lot of grief. There's a lot of sadness as you put to rest and you say goodbye to your old self. It's really what in the tarot you call the Tower card or the Death card, because you are dying. You're dying and leaving behind the only thing you ever knew in your dream state. And until you wake up to who you truly are, you're focusing on what you're losing, and you're losing, the old you. I've been going through a lot of stuff with, the romance and the, save me, the hero, the man that comes and saves you, and, reminiscing about old times, about a lot of the friends and family members that have gone, fallen by the wayside, and they're still there, but they're just not in your frequency anymore. So I want to talk about that now, leaving behind your 3D relationships. I have left so many people, and I cherish all of them. I'm at the age where I've lost my parents to death physically, and then I have, a family, but really it's all on my side when I reach out to them. And it's just become such a burden and an expense. And, just, financially, it's just a drain. It's not feeding me anymore to always be the one that's, and maybe you feel that in certain relationships. You're always the one that's giving. You're always the one that's calling. You're always the one that's flying. I live in Europe, so I fly to the US to see them. Last Christmas, I rented a huge, beautiful, historic home and had Thanksgiving there. And, I'm always the one that reaches out. And I love them dearly, but it's time to stop feeding stuff that doesn't feed you back, because that is the old system, the old parasitic system. And maybe you have friends like that where you thought they were your best friends, but when you pull back, and perhaps many of you have pulled back during this time just because you've been going through, stuff, a lot of stuff, a lot of hell stuff. And, you haven't felt good. You haven't been able to just be the, light of everyone's life. You've had to turn your light inward to do some deep cellular ancestral miasmic healing. So you haven't been there to be the generator of energy. And those people, perhaps they don't like it. Perhaps you realized, wow, I'm the only one giving in this story. So, that's happening. Friends, family members, a lot of parents are checking out now because, they contracted to get you off. And now, a lot of people are having, problems, taking care of their parents and having to deal with that. And it's time to kind of let that go, let them go. Let them go. You're going to be fine without them. So there's a lot of grief, because a lot of the, not just friends, but colleagues and dreams that you had in the 3D reality that never manifested or aren't manifesting. I had always wanted children because it was the mind control program, and I never had them. But now I'm really had to really look at that and really realize that, God, I'm really glad I didn't. Even though in society terms, an older woman, a widow without children is like, the worst thing you can possibly be. Who's going to take care of you when you get old, and all those fears, and that's, and as I've been able to move away from that and observe it, as a observer, I realize it's a mind control program. It's a mind control program. This dying alone, or who's going to take care of you. And this is what I'm about to talk about. Who's going to take care of you? Because there's that feeling our inner child has, and we feel it deep inside. We feel it in our wombs many times, as women, because that's where a lot of the emotions come from. And, I'm just being very honest right now and kind of telling you what's coming in and then trying to make it tangible with examples of my life. But, as I'm saying these words, try to think about you. What are some of your fears that have been holding you back? What are some of the societal mores and conditions that you've been buying into? And if you can really take a step back and ask yourself these questions and be honest with yourself, it's so freeing, because you realize how much you've given the pen of your life story over to what society, what others will think of you, what your culture will think of you, what religions has told you, what the doctors and the priests and the spiritual teachers have told you. And it's really time to filter all that out, just kind of tease it out and free yourself. So you are completely free and you have a totally blank canvas to paint your beautiful life on, or an empty pages to write the story you want to create, free from this subconscious. And the subconscious is, 90%. That's how we've been in the coma, because we've only been awake 10%. And the rest has been controlling and writing us. And they're just beliefs that we just accept as reality. Well, of course you die, of course you grow old. Do you? Do you really have to? Of course you have to, blah, blah, blah. There's so many things that we have bought from the conditioning and the reinforcement of being in society every day. So many of you, like myself, have found that as your frequency raises, the being out and about, without a purpose, just being out and about in the 3D world, can be draining, can be very abrasive, because you can kind of sense the disharmonious frequencies. Even being around people, a lot of times when you're with a group, and I'll just say the group holds you back, okay? Whether it's a group of friends that you have, some kind of something in common with, whether you're on the PTA or you're a group of, feminists, or you're a group of friends that have hung out together, that's all nice. It's beautiful, but it also subtly keeps you, it's a very subtle thing. If you can be totally honest with who you are and keep pushing, then the group can evolve, but you need to be in it and not of it. If you're in a group, you need to be careful about the doctrines, the silent contracts, the muted agreements that you all have kind of decided to live by, because that is holding you back. That can be a chain that holds you back to the old you and to the past and to the Fibonacci timelines. And that's not something you want to continue, because it'll keep pulling you off track, and it'll eventually end up to being a conflict. Hopefully it will be a conflict where you choose you over everyone else. And this is the time to choose you over everyone else. Why? Not because you're selfish, but because you are a universe. It's all inside of you. You are a hologram, okay? And I wrote this in my newsletter. It's on my website, infinitehuman.com. But you are a universe. You are a hologram, and everything in the multiverse, the infinite multiverse, is inside of you. All right. When you step out and look up at the stars, everything you see in the vast infiniteness of space is also within. And if you journey within, and this is an excerpt from the Infinite Human, I'm just paraphrasing, but if you journey within your body looks just like a universe. Your eye looks like a nebula. You're made of the same carbon gaseous, stardust that the universe is made of. So you are a hologram, or just a fragment, but with everything that the universe has in it, splintered off. And this journey began eons ago, billions and billions of years ago. In fact, it began even beyond time and space. And it happened, first, okay, if you go outside and you look up at the stars, I'm going to talk a lot about your star family and the stars. And each star is a consciousness, a massive, great, infinite. Well, it has its limits, but it's part of the infiniteness, and it's a huge consciousness. And when the star bursts forth, it sends off a monadic family. Okay, it splinters out into the holographic fragments of the infinite, yet it also it creates what's called a monad or a star family. And within that star family, first of all, you fracture off. And that's where the original twin flame split comes, because then you spark off from that one fragment out of the whole family, out of the monad, into the electrical magnetic, masculine, feminine, twin soul flame union. So you're one. And then, you continue on your journeys, and many of us have descended our consciousness into into the 3D world, where we got caught up in the trap, in the prison matrix, and we fell asleep at the wheel. And now we're waking up. So, grieve not. All right. Don't look at what you've lost. Don't look at, the families members that you've lost, or you're no longer really connecting with, you're not identifying with, they might still be there, but you just might not feel at home with them as you used to, or you did it when you were young, or with friends that just, you go out with them, but there's just not that interfacing of frequency, or relationships, partners that you thought were everything, and you would spend the rest of your life with them, and you find yourself kind of just not really clicking anymore. It's just not happening. And perhaps everything is like that. Your whole life is like that. Perhaps you find yourself going through the motions of your job, of your relationships, of your, whatever, but it's hollow. It doesn't fulfill you anymore. So fear not. That is the first step. And that's what the shift is all about. And that's what we're going through right now, as we leave behind our old stories, leave behind the 3D reality. It's very personal. So, and you know what I'm talking about, or if you don't, you probably will soon. It's probably going to come up for you, where you're just, all of a sudden you have an aha moment, like, wow, I'm just ghosting this. I'm not really in this anymore. This is not me. And you will have to have the courage to pull out. But I think those things will just kind of fizzle away. Really, it won't have to be I don't think, anything dramatic where you get out of my life, or talak, I divorce you. I mean, it'll happen. It'll just happen because the energy is no longer there. And when something's not getting fed, it dies. And if you're in like narcissistic or parasitic relationships, you'll just stop feeding it. You just won't have the energy to do it anymore. Or you'll be at such a high frequency that they won't be able to latch on like they were before, and they'll have to pull you down, but you won't go there. You won't buy into their guilt and their shame, and they're shaming you, and all the things that worked before. They will no longer find their hook, their target. And so these people that, if they're parasitic, narcissistic, they'll migrate somewhere else where they can get fed, because, no one sticks around, if they're hungry and they're a parasitic entity, they need to be fed. So they'll go find, their source of of vampirism in another place. So, but and you may think, oh my God, I'm alone now. I'm this, I'm that. I'm a single, parent, or a woman, or I'm an old woman on my own, or all that feeling. If you're female, and the men will feel it too in their own way, because we're both masculine and feminine. So that this is the time to clear out the space, because something wonderful is coming. But you have to first clear the space, right? If you have a beautiful home, but it's full of terrible old furniture, you have to get the furniture out first. You got to throw it out so you can, fill it up with beautiful things that are much more suited to you. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now. And so what we're doing is we're clearing out the way to reconnect, to remember our future and remember our true family. These are the ones that have always been with you for eons, eons upon eons. They have been silently and patiently waiting for you to waken up out of your coma and to see them, because they've been right beside you, but you haven't been able to see with the limited vision of your physical eyes, and that's all you've been working with. Now, we're seeing with the whites of our eyes. Now we're seeing with our whole pineal third eye complex. Now we're sensing and intuiting, because we're merging with the frequencies that our star family is in, and we're able to listen to them, to hear them, to make contact with them. And that's what's next, contact. I'm not talking about, spaceships coming down and beaming you up, and taking you off planet and rescuing you, or coming down here and, taking over our government and running our planet for us and telling us what to do. That's definitely an agenda laden topic right now. And a lot of people are still buying into the program of save me, save me. They need to be saved. And that's the old 3D paradigm. It's going to lead you nowhere. All right. So that's not what I'm talking about when I say contact, with the alien, that comes up, Palladian that looks beautiful, Palladian Anunnaki. Okay. It's really a fallen angelic. But, so those are the ones usually that take like the physical form and, come and whatever. So we're not talking about that. We're not talking about abduction. We're not talking about visitation. We're talking about something that occurs mostly from within and from you opening your third eye vision, your inner vision, from you. First of all, many of you have this. All right. I'll just say right here, many of you have this. And I'm sure that if I sat down and talked to you and you started to really open up and allow these memories to flood forward, because you had to shut them down in order to survive. But if you start really being able to remember your childhood, when you're really, really young, some of your first memories, you will remember, one, that you were always surrounded by your soul family, by your tribe, by your star brothers and sisters. They were always with you. And for me, they were in my stuffed animals and my dolls, and they were always talking to me. And I love to play by myself because, I got to be with them. I played with them. And I also bet that you had supernatural powers that people would say, "Oh my God!" I as I wrote in my book, I had X-ray vision. I could go into a dark room and I saw, actually she was very ill. I think she was mentally retarded, but she was a friend of mine. Went to nursery school, and I saw her skeleton, and I saw kind of black spots around it and that was an indication to me that I was a healer. And I read about it later, many years later, in the autobiography of a yogi that Parayogananda wrote, that the X-ray vision was something that healers have. And I bet if you could go back and reclaim your memories and reconstruct that and awaken to that, you would realize you had those abilities like that too. Not the same as me, because everyone has different ones, but you probably had the ability to see auras. You probably just knew things. You intuited things. You could, know what was happening. All kind. I'm not going to go into all the Claire-isms, but there's many of them, and I bet you had them. And like many of us, me myself included, you realize, oh my God, there's two realities here. The one I can see, and then the limited one that the people around me, especially the big people, see. And you also learn that if you talked about certain things, they would get worried about you. They would look at you like you were crazy. And then if you were like me, one of my biggest fears was being locked away in a mental institution, because it happened to me many, many times in my life. And in fact, I was telling someone the other day how I was actually locked into a rehab center when I was trying to get off of the sleeping pills after my husband died. And they started putting me on on all these big farms, and I was under lock and key, and I had to take them. And I gained like over 50 pounds, like in 2 months. And I started talking to the psychiatrist about the Kundalini, the Kundalini. And he said, "You're a very, very sick girl." And he just looked at me like I was crazy. And actually, it worked to my advantage, because I documented all this. I ended up getting declared disabled and got money from the government. But so you can always work it to your favor. But I think that is a big fear that many of us have. But we have to start paying attention. We have to start now releasing the external world and all the fears that we've had, and all the misery that we have gone through to try to fit into a broken world. It's broken. They're the ones who are insane, not you. And so we lost our sanity. We dropped our siddhas, our supernatural powers. We dropped them. We let them go in order to fit in order to be loved by people who couldn't even love us, in order to be loved by our families, and accepted in our schools, and by our teachers, and valued by, the people at large, society at large. We climbed the academic paper chase, trying to prove that we were smart and successful and good, stock good material, whatever, and we could get this job, a job that we probably even hated, but that was what we were taught. That was what we were raised on. And anything that, any of these, using our imagination, using our creativity, I always say the imagination is a portal. So when we go into our inner vision and we start seeing images and visions, we were taught to discard those, that was fantasy, that was nothing. And I write about this. If you it's really for all ages. So if you don't have a kid, you can get it. But if you have a child or a grandchild, or a nephew, The Magical Mist, my book, it's all about how we gave away our imaginations, about a little rag doll that's magical and leads her owner to the world of imagination, where she meets Queen Fantasia and King Infinite, and munches on Jolly Jelly, and floats up out of her seat and touches the crystal walls, and they change color, and she learns that whatever she thinks happens immediately, and she's gifted the key to the world of imagination by Queen Fantasia. And when she returns back home, then her school teacher thinks she's, causing trouble by talking about the world of imagination and creativity, fantasies. And, she ends up having to throw out her rag doll with the key to the world of imagination, and doesn't reclaim it till many, many years older, when she has a child of her own. But, I don't want to, spoiler it, but it's a beautiful, very healing story. I remember I gave it to my mother, and she cried, because we had that very similar relationship, because the mother was really concerned that her daughter was getting in trouble at school. So many of us had parents that backed the broken systems, backed the school systems, and tried to, it robbed us of our creative sparkle. And that's the theme of the book, robbing us of our creative sparkle. And I went around the whole U.S. on a book tour, and on talk shows, and into school systems, and said the school system is robbing our children of their creative sparkle. We need to fan it. And that was a long time ago, in the 90s. So I've been doing a lot, but I'm here to tell you that the time is now to really cherish these inner visions that you have. Give yourself time to meditate, time to go out at night and look up at the stars, and try to get a sense of what star you come from. And we're going to do an activation at the end of this, so you can get a sense of who you are, where you come from, and who your star family is, because now's the time as the 3D relationships, fall away. They just kind of crumble away from you because they're no longer nurturing you. You've grown beyond them. It's like trying to go back to nursery school when you're, in your PhD program. I mean, you can go back and wander around and reminisce and say hi to, these people who were important to you and pay your respects to them, but they have nothing more to give you. They've given you the gift and it's over. And that's why so many of these relationships are just not fulfilling you anymore. And now it's time to rekindle and reunite with the very first relationship you ever had, with the monad that burst forth from your star, your birth star. And they're the ones that are going to be with you. They're the ones that are going to be helping you. They're going to be guiding you. They're going to be giving you the information that you need to be sharing. And they're going to be helping you get your feet solidly on the path of your soul mission, why you came here. And once you can really embrace and start living your soul mission, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about money. You free yourself from the black magic Babylonian system and you stop selling your soul, doing things you don't want to do just to survive, okay? In fact, you're abundant. Money just flows to you. And I promise you, I'm not just talking out of my arse. This is what I've experienced. It always comes. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, it's just coming. And it's wonderful. Because I'm doing what I'm told, because I have surrendered my will, my mini me, my ego, my selfish desires to the infinite God source. And I'm here, for myself first, but myself is everyone. I realize I am all one, not alone. I'm all one. So what I do for myself, I do for others. And what I do for others, I do for myself. And I just love giving. I love it. That's probably been my weak point is I overgive and I give to the wrong people. So I've been stopping that and creating boundaries, which is something we need to do. And now being very selective and very certain that whenever I give, there's an energy exchange. Even though, before when I gave to someone, I didn't give anything back, I would always get it from the universe. But now we're recreating the correct foundation for the future. So that means that everything you do, you need to get an energy exchange back. And that's important because that creates a foundation of mutual respect. It creates a foundation where you are being fed and not being parasited off of, and you are feeding. So it's a beautiful, synergetic dance. And so that's what we're doing right now. And so it also helps you with your self-worth because you charge for the things you do. And that's very important because you need to start to value yourself. You need to start valuing, even though the problem is so many of these things come so easy to us. I mean, we make miracles happen and we don't even notice it, especially women. Things just magically happen because we just know it has to happen. There's a point where things are falling apart and we step in and we make them happen. And unfortunately, in most structures, in the family systems, in society systems, in the social systems, women and their magicalness have been so dissed. There's been so little value placed on it. It's just like, make it happen. Okay, I did, okay, well, that's for free, because you're the mother, you're the wife, you just do that. and while the and this is in the 3D world, while the men traditionally have been out, working, it's the women behind the scenes have been making everything happen. So it's time to shift that. You're going to have to start seeing how you just thinking about something, you make something happen. And that's so valuable. These skills that you just took for granted are important, and you need to get, you need to receive for them. You need to be valued for them. You need to hold them up and make people, or what people don't have to, but you need to command respect for them. And if people don't respect you for them, then they're out. You set your limits, you set your price, you set your value, you set your goals, you set your community standards, your boundaries, and those who come up. And if nobody comes up, not to fret. It's not a race. You have your star family to go to. If you're alone and nobody's coming, to your community, to your circle, to your house, they're not calling you, whatever, because they're parasites. Basically, that's probably why, because they realize you're not, you put your boundaries up, you raised your walls up. They're too high for them to climb. Which is a good thing because it keeps the parasites out. So then if you're feeling lonely, reach inward, look to the stars, commune with your star family. And in that way, you will have your cup, runneth over, and the right people will show up at the right time. It's a time when we need to have a lot of faith, first of all, in ourselves. We're doing it. We're walking it one baby step at a time. It's going to take time. So, don't rush it. It's time to move slow. I've been saying simplify yourself. If you can simplify your spending, if you need to move to an area where it's not, people, especially in America, they live in places, and I've lived in those places, they might be beautiful, but when you have to work 2 and 3 and 4 jobs just to pay the rent, or that's not worth it. There's many beautiful places all over the world where you can live a very simple, a very peaceful life. And yes, at first you might, have kind of withdrawal because you're not in the programs that you used to be in, going to Starbucks and, the Pilates and seeing all your, your social network people, and going to the shops and the malls and the this and the that. But as you begin to withdraw from that addiction, you realize those were just mind control programs. The more you put yourself in the external world, the more you're feeding, you're energizing this 3D reality that has imprisoned you. And the more you spend, the more your money's going out. That's feeding the wrong timeline. You're building your castles in sand on a Fibonacci, time loop on a road that's going nowhere. So this is the time as everything's shifting to just bring all your resources in, follow your intuition and invest in yourself. And find investments that are secure, that are, there's a lot of amazing investments going here. If anyone's watched, I don't know how many times I dropped hints over the past years in all my videos about silver and gold, and it's gone crazy now. So, I've done that, but you don't want to be just spending, which is what most Americans do. They're one paycheck away from being homeless. Everything's, more, you own nothing really. And are you happy? No, you're paying your car payments and your mortgages and your credit cards and and which is so mind blowing for me because I live in Sicily and these people live very simply. When I first came here, I just thought, well, they're simple, they're poor people, they're farmers, they're fishermen. They are infinitely more wealthy than any American. And they might be very simple and they might not be very cultured, but they own land free and clear. It's been theirs throughout the history. It's been passed down generation to generation. They live in homes that they've had in their family with no mortgages. And, their land, they became land wealthy because, everyone wants to buy a piece of it here. And the cost of living is so simply so low. And, they eat better than any Americans I know that spend $500 on a meal. They spend 10, 20, 30 and fresh seafood pulled out of the sea, fresh produce that grows every year in season. It has its seasons. I mean, it's amazing. And they're so very defensive about their food. They maintain a very high quality because they won't eat crap. They just won't. And the natural beauty is amazing, So it's time for you to really start prioritizing things and not do things because you were told to, because your parents did them, because society makes you think you're wealthy if you have a Lamborghini and a whatever timeshare in Aspen, or I don't know, 3 homes all over the place, or mortgages out the gazoo. You have to start realizing what real wealth is, okay? What real abundance is, what real friendships are about. People that give back to you, people that are there for you and you're there for them, but they're there for you too. And start learning, what you really enjoy to do. What is it that floats your boat? What gets you excited? It might not be all the things that people think, like, going skiing, or, jumping out of a plane, or doing a cruise, well, it might be something just very simple, like, watching the night sky, watching the sunset, spending a nice, peaceful, still morning or evening with yourself and your dog and the trees and the stars. And I keep talking about the stars because it's coming up now. It's time to start, getting into the stars. And with that, I'm going to take you on just a beautiful, peaceful meditation. So if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you can, just get very peaceful, get comfortable, and just take a nice deep breath, breathing in I am, and exhaling peace, 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 and breathing in I am again. And this time, as you exhale, love, 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 just feel a wave of relaxation coming in to the top of your head and moving into your head, just relaxing your brow and the little muscles around your eyes, and allowing your jaw to open and soften, and your neck to just loosen, your shoulders to drop, and your arms to just sink down into your lap or into the bed or whatever is supporting you, and feel your torso and buttocks sinking deeper and deeper and deeper into the chair or bed that so lovingly supports you. And feel your legs just release all the tension as the energy runs through you, and any stress or tension or anxiety just drip, drip, drips out of your toes and into the floor beneath your feet, or earth. Breathing in again, I am, and exhaling infinite, 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 infinite. And imagine that you are laying in a beautiful meadow, on a beautiful bed of very soft, very clean, very fresh grass. And it cushions you as you breathe in again. I am. And exhale, infinite, 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 You feel your body just relaxing and molding into the grass beneath you, supporting you, loving you, healing you. And now open your eyes and look up. And you realize it's night. And you're gazing up into a beautiful, velvetly blue sky packed with stars. All kinds of bright, sparkly, diamond-like stars glistening in the sky. And you can hear them. You can hear them singing as they come out one by one. And you notice that there's a beautiful band, a filament, connecting the stars together as if it's fabric woven out of creation itself, the very fabric that the universe, the multiverse is made of. And as you gaze up, you notice there's one star in particular that seems to be calling to you. It seems to be twinkling your tune, your song. It seems to be pulling you into it. And as you look up, you notice that there's a beautiful spiral of electrical, sparkly thread that is spiraling down, down, down towards you until it's hanging right within your grasp. And now you reach up with your plasma body and your plasma arms, beautiful Malibu liquid rainbow plasma frequencies, and you grab hold of it with your plasma hands, and you feel it pulling you up, up, up as you lift out of your body, and your plasma body is being pulled up towards that star, that bright, shining star. And you're spiraling up, 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 closer and closer to it through the night, through the starry, starry, beautiful, bright, star-laden sky, and into deep, deep space where it's silent. You feel the love and the nurturing and the increase of frequency as you spiral closer and closer and closer to this beautiful star. And as you come close, it's so bright you have to douse your eyes. And you've come to a barrier. It's a beautiful kind of invisible yet energetic barrier that's around the star. And you reach out your plasma hands and you feel gently push against this energetic field that pushes back. You can feel it as it gives and takes as you push. And then all of a sudden you take your plasma hands and you just reach in and part it like a curtain. And then you let yourself move through that barrier, that curtain. And you feel yourself enveloped in the most beautiful, loving frequencies of pure love, of pure light, of pure divine sparkle. And as you move deeper and deeper towards the center of this brilliant, brilliant star, you feel this healing, loving, amazing, energetic frequencies enveloping you, penetrating you, healing you, until you find yourself floating down, 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 right into the center of this beautiful crystal platform. It's just a enormously round disc the size of perhaps a large piazza. It's crystal, which sparkles. And inside of it are rainbow frequencies that change color and that run like a circuitry throughout. And there's different symbolic patterns, like, Akasha, vector codes, all kinds of different codes that keep shifting and changing with the frequencies that are pulsating through them. And you see them sparking and igniting and communicating with one another. And as you stand there feeling this rhythm and begin to undulate in harmony with the pulses, you begin to notice that you're not alone. That on the perimeter of this big, large crystalline disc platform, there are other bodies, plasma bodies, that are on the border of it, encircling you. And they begin to slowly move closer and closer, forming a very tight, compact circle around you. And they raise their plasma, beautiful plasma arms, and out pulses a frequency that you receive wholly and totally, receiving this beautiful gift of a very high activation within your plasma body. And this activation lifts you up, up, up off the platform. So you're hanging about 15 feet above the center of this crystalline disc. And the electrical pulses are undulating through your body, and you feel them. They're colors of pink and blue and yellow, and other rainbow frequencies are moving through you now. And you're just absorbing them in this wonderful state of ecstasy as you feel all the love, all the joy, all the high oscillations and frequency inundating you, inundating every cell of your plasma body. And with a sigh, feel the undulations slowing down. And as they do, you begin to exhale and bring yourself down back into the center of this crystalline piazza platform. And now you turn around and you look around and you realize this is your family. This is your star family. Your first and foremost family who loves you unconditionally and has never left you, has always been supporting you in your away team mission. And they are always there for you, loving you, healing you, restoring you, holding your hand through all of your challenges in your life's journey. And now reach out and take each one of their hands one at a time as they pulsate through their palms, a special gift that each one of them wants to give to you. So you reach out and you feel the pulse that is sent from one palm into your palm. And as soon as you receive it and integrate it, reach out for another hand that's there and receive that pulse. And continue going around the circle that's tightened around you now, as they all want to give to you a gift. Each one very unique, each one very special, and each one extremely useful in this next phase of your life. So continue going around the circle and taking each one of their palms into your plasma hands, their plasma into yours, and just receive, receive, receive all the love that you've been looking for in all the wrong places, in all your 3D relationships. Love from people who are so broken they could never give it to you. And feel them celebrating you, not tolerating you like so many other relationships, but celebrating your uniqueness, celebrating what other people in the 3D world would call weirdness, your weirding ways, celebrating you. And so happy that you have finally are seeing them and hearing them and receiving all they've wanted to give you for so many eons. And now take the plasma hands and your plasma hands of the last one of your brethren and just inhale that activation into you. And now release the palms and look down into your plasma hands. And there is something there. It may be a color, it may be just a feeling, or it may be an object that has form to it. But just take a little moment to acknowledge it and to pay attention to this symbol that they have given you that will be a guiding force for you in the days to come. What is it? What is it? Get a sense of it. And then just store it in your plasma palm so it becomes a frequency, and then it is now into your heart. And you can take it out whenever you need to be reminded of this. And at this point, you bow in acknowledgement to your star family, knowing that they are always here for you, and making a solemn vow that you will never forget them again, and that you will be open to all their guidance, all their communications, all they have to give you. You will receive it, and you will come back here whenever you feel called to be restored, to be repaired, to be activated, and to receive your assignments. For these are the guardian races. These are the guardians that you have been following through speakers and other forms, but now you are becoming able to directly communicate with them, directly work with them. But you need to value and honor them and all of your visions that you have, your inner visions, your inner symbols, your inner nudges and niggles. You need to respect and honor that, and you need to make time during your daily meditations to come and be with them and receive your directions. You need to surrender your little egotistical will to thy will of the guardian races and infinite God source to which they are aligned and calibrated. You need to recalibrate yourself to infinite God source within. And now you lift up and you bid them a beautiful, heartfelt farewell with the promise that you will return ASAP. And you begin to move out, floating away from the platform, observing its brilliant colors. As you turn around and set your sight away from the star and out through the barrier, which you penetrate easily, and back home towards your home planet of Earth. And you begin to come back into the atmosphere of Earth. And you see your body resting in the field, in the meadow, and you hover back over it. And then you just inhale and exhale yourself back down into your body, your projected body, and you lock phase into it. And your body is now receiving all the activations that you have received on the platform. And now you inhale and pull your plasma body and your projected body back into your physical body. And you feel yourself renewed. You feel yourself interfacing your feet. Your plasma feet are attaching to your feet. Your plasma bottom is attaching to your chair and your physical bottom. Your plasma head is back into your physical head. Your plasma arms are back into your plasma body. And you may feel an undulation. In fact, it may even be very strong. You may feel a little dizzy or faint at first. Just relax and breathe as your body, your physical body, receives all the activations, all the frequencies, all the gifts, all the beautiful love that you received from your star family and from your star. And now just take a nice deep breath and sigh it out. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And you may have a few days or weeks, months as this integrates, but it's going to really help move you more wholly onto the new you, into the new you, and onto your new timeline. So I hope this was helpful and love you all. And see you next time. Ciao for now.